Hi, Poppy Yeager here with This Day in History. April 3rd, 1948, President Truman signed the Economic Assistance Act, better known as the Marshall Plan. What the Marshall Plan did was it authorized the creation of a program that was going to assist Europe in their recovery from World War II. It was going to help stabilize Europe, both economically and politically. Keep in mind, this is the end of World War II, which is the beginning of the Cold War. World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union were allies. The war ends, and now there's this push and pull between communism and the free world. The United States feared that the Soviet Union was going to have too much influence, that more of the nations of Eastern Europe were going to just be consumed with this idea of communism. The United States wanted to prevent that from happening. And the best way they felt to do that was to provide aid so people wouldn't be tempted. The Marshall Plan was signed in April, but it was in June of the prior year that Secretary of State George Marshall addressed Harvard University. And in his speech, he suggested this idea of Europe coming together, creating a plan for assistance, and then the United States was going to help. Shortly after Marshall suggested that, Europe did just that. There were like 17 countries in all, including Western Germany, England, Iceland, Greece. However, of course, the Soviet Union and other countries such as Czechoslovakia that were already infused with this idea of communism, they didn't show up. So Europe got together, they created a plan, presented it to the United States, and over the course of 4 years, the United States gave Europe $13 billion in aid. Some of it was direct grants, others were loans, but that was a big chunk of money to send to Europe in an effort to help them rebuild. Remember, the war devastated Europe with all of the bombing. There was a lot of rebuilding that needed to be done, and Europe needed help. The United States was there to help them. The United States, being one of the strongest, wealthiest countries in the world, has played that role for over a century, assisting poorer countries or recovering countries. We now have a president that is refusing to give aid to countries. I'm not necessarily sure we should give as much maybe as we do, but there are children. There are people starving in the world right now that we're getting assistance from the United States to feed these children. And now, under Trump and Doge, they're not getting money. People around the world are going to suffer and die because the United States is not giving aid. This is the sort of aid I support, and I wish we were still giving. And it appalls me that the United States is now withdrawing and saying, oh, yes, we have all of this money, but we don't want to share. Nobody likes paying taxes. But sometimes I think you do need to give money to assist, especially when there are children who are going hungry. Anyway, that's This Day in History, April 3rd, 1948. President Truman signed the Marshall Plan, and it should just be a reminder to Americans that this is a role that we have played, that we've embraced, that we should continue to help others who are in need.